Morning, everybody. Michelle is here. Michelle is here on Friday, March the 27th, 2026. And I had to re record this video because, I'm up pretty early and I'm like rambling, blah, 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 and I didn't want to, make things any more confusion than we already have, create more confusion, make things more confusing than what we have already. So I want to get up on this Friday morning, early on Friday morning on the West Coast. You know what I mean? And start my day because my life is going to be changing. I'm going to have a significant change in my life. Okay. And what's going to happen with that is going to create a lot of uncertainty. A lot of uncertainty. So I told you with the other video, uncertainties come with the territory. And a lot of people have anxiety over, uncertainties. And I say to you, do not dismiss that. Just, be kind and gentle with yourself. Do not allow your therapist, do not allow your psychiatrist and all of these other entities out there, looking for your money, so they can pay for their lifestyle and blah, blah, blah. But do not allow certain entities of people to dismiss your anxiety as something you need to get rid of. No, it's something where you need to examine, okay, what is really going on? And usually it's uncertainty. And uncertainty is what? What is uncertainty? Let's look it up. How about that? All right. And I've talked about uncertainties before. And, a lot of things are just going to keep coming through where you're going to have these uncertainties. It's similar to doubt, having doubt about something. And what does it say over here? Let me see if I can manage this a little better. It says here, our friends with artificial intelligence says here, uncertainty refers to the state of having limited knowledge about an outcome or a result, which leads to doubt. And sometimes you cannot predict, what kind of decisions you're going to make because there's some uncertainty about it. You don't know what's gonna, what's coming down the pike. Okay, what's coming down, and I mean it literally, figuratively, and metaphorically about what's going down or coming down. And I want to talk about, these certain behaviors and actions that we have about how powerful we think we are and how great we think we are and how all-knowing. Okay, there's a lot of uncertainty in our world, more so now than probably ever, because we have not faced these type of uncertainties before. We have not faced these behaviors and actions and results and consequences before, and now we are. We're facing, we're facing some realities that are so concerning. Stand by just one moment. Well, never mind. I'll come back to that later. We're facing so many realities right now that are so uncertain. A lot of people are going to be in peril. You're going to be in a structured environment, whereas it's going to create a lot of anxiety for you, and that has a lot to do with the signs of the time, the complacency, the criminal negative energy, and blah 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 blah. So a lot of people are going through some things, and I'm more so talking to the people that are going to be affected are those of you that are dependent on someone to take care of you. You understand? You're dependent on other people to provide for you. And I said this so many eons before, with the amount of videos. You have to be able to, if you choose to stand on your own feet, regardless of who's taking care of you. Especially if you're married. A lot of people take on this delusion that, okay, once you're married to someone, okay, they're responsible for everything in your life. They make the decisions, they take over and da 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 da. And what I want to say to you is that is you talk about a catastrophe waiting to happen. Yes, that it is. It's a genuine catastrophe waiting to happen when you allow somebody else to be concerned about your future or concerned about your livelihood, concerned about how you're gonna provide the basis for yourself. Even if you're married, you need to know what that means and how you can, stay on top of that. Because the reason I brought this up is because there's a lot of desperation out there. I know a lot of people do not want to hear that, and a lot of people attempt to dismiss that and claim, "Oh, I'm on top of everything." They're so arrogant. There's the arrogance is, and the cockiness and the false confidence is just, I mean, I just don't know where it all comes from, and that's just. I should correct that. I know where it's coming from, but the fact that it continues decades on decades. So I presented a concept. I guess it's a metaphor. Earlier, as I'm kind of surfing through the web and chatting with the artificial intelligence. I mean, I do that. I do my research. I figure out what's going on in the world. And I presented this term, the house always win. What does that mean? Let's look it up. And it's a metaphor. I mean, I listen to the sometimes with the artificial intelligence, you really, really, really need to know how to think for yourself and discern, because otherwise you'll get a lot of unnecessary abstract responses that don't necessarily capture what you may be attempting to relay. And that's what I kind of ran into this morning. And so that's why I'll come back to that later, because remember, you're training. No matter what anybody tells you, you're training the artificial intelligence. Okay, with your interactions with it, you're training it. Okay, it's not the other way around. So what does it mean here that the house always wins? It says a phrase commonly used in gambling, indicating that casinos are designed to ensure that the owners make profit over time, regardless of the individual player's outcome. Did you hear that and understand what I just said? Look it up yourself. The house always wins. Okay, so there's a lot of people who are literally gambling away everything they claim to have worked for because of their desperation. Okay, they presented themselves as these confident people, when in actuality they're anything but confident. They have a lack of confidence because they're gambling literally, as well as figuratively and metaphorically, gambling away everything that they claim to be so important to them, which is their materialism. Okay, their materialism. And so, unfortunately, that's not going to stop anytime soon. It's been going on. This so-called gambling, literally, figuratively, and metaphorically, has been going on for decades, actually, probably centuries. Whereas we have this belief about ourselves that we're so much more powerful than we are. If the house always wins, what does that mean to you? So a lot of people are looking for this short-term gains when it comes to gambling. So they're essentially playing checkers. That metaphor, they're playing checkers because they're looking for a short-term gain, believing it is going to carry over into their future. That's anything but true. So many people are going to be experiencing a collapse because of gambling, literally, figuratively, and metaphorically, where they're going to lose everything. And then they're going to have the people that are so-called dependent on that lose everything too, and then essentially be homeless or unhoused or destitute, whatever the term you're going to be. I mean, because that's where we're headed. Okay, I asked this question. I don't know where, either with a conversation or somewhere. If if you're on a planet where the planet is basically um, broke, there's nothing there. Well, guess what the planet is depending on? You, me, to keep it in that rumination, that regurgitation of the house always wins. So with our gambling, we feed into that. Just think about it, literally, figuratively, metaphorically. Think about it. I'm not attempting to step on anybody's toes about that, because I know a lot of people believe that they're just so powerful. They sit at these tables, gambling and smoking these cigars, these high priced cigars, and just believe. That's the arrogance of it, that they have this mind of such high intelligence that it's actually stupid behavior to be gambling when that in the end, and we all know this is true. Otherwise, a lot of casinos would have shut down decades ago. A lot of Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes, all of that would have shut down centuries ago if the house did not always win. And I mean that on as well as politically. I mean, those tentacles I talked about, the religious tentacles I talked about. Okay, that metaphor applies there as well. Okay, the house always wins. Why? Because the behaviors and actions do not change. Nobody's thinking about all of that. A lot of people just think about how powerful they are individually. I won $1,000 just the other day. Well, how much did you pay to win that $1,000? And usually it's probably 3 times as much. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. That's the metaphor of life. And I just want to alert whoever is listening that if you're not taking care of yourself and providing for yourself, and you're allowing someone else to, you're setting yourself up. And guess what's going to happen? There's a lot of people roaming around this country who have no shame in their game. They'll wear the same underwear weeks after weeks. In other words, they'll drift across this globe, drift across this world, and have no shame about their appearance, about this or that. They can care less about that. So if you're married to something like that, guess what's going to happen to you? What about your children? What about your descendants? A lot of people that are doing this kind of reckless, careless behavior, you know, they don't have a pot to piss in, literally, figuratively, and metaphorically. Even though if you look around, they can have all of this materialism. They have boats, they have trucks, they have RVs, they have this, and their yards are filled with it. That's where they develop their so-called character based on what all of this material stuff around them. And they can care less and then it's not that they can care less. It's just their materialism means more to them than you mean to them. Did you hear what I said? Their materialism means more to them than you mean to them. That's an unconsciousness. If you ask them directly, they'll say, look, they'll claim to you that this is all for you, all of this materialism. And I'm telling you, okay, the weather-related events that are happening are going to wipe all of that so-called value of materialism out. Can you eat a boat? Can you eat a truck? Would you want to live in a boat? Would you want to live in a truck? Those are options as well. So get up in the mornings or at night. At night is beautiful. I love the evening hours just as much as I do the morning hours. I think I like the evening hours more so. As the sun is going down, be reflective on your life and be genuinely honest with yourself to say, okay, no one has to know this. I stress, even if you are married, listen to me carefully, okay? This has nothing to do about your partnership right now. This has to do with your individuality as to, okay, how am I going to provide for myself if something happens to my partner? What if my partner gambles away all of our future? And you have no idea that that's happening because what? They control the finances. What do you have? My mom always, even though my dad provided for us, and her especially, gave her everything she wanted materialistically, but she wasn't necessarily always happy about all of that. But I'll go back into that at a later date. In other words, the materialism did not make her happy. I'm just being direct and honest. But what I really want to stress, and I'm going to stop this in a few minutes, is be able to stand on your own feet just in case something happens to your partner. Okay, have a little stash of assets, cash. Cash more so than anything. Whereas if something does happen, can you get a hotel room? Can you do this? Can you go here? Can you go there? Make sure you know how to drive. Some people did not learn how to drive or knew how to drive. Okay, how are you going to get yourself out of certain situations? If public transportation is not available, how are you going to get yourself out of there? Can you ride a bike? You just need to be able to think clearly and effectively and see if you can take whatever you need in a backpack. Until the dangers, because it's going to be weather related. Those are the dangers, okay? Until those dangers are over. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop this right now. I don't want to take this too long this morning because I still need to get my coffee in and do some things. But I sense I need to come back and kind of stress on this very, very important. The house always wins metaphor. So what are you gambling with? Okay, who are you dependent on? Okay, what are you dependent on? How long can you go without this or that or the other? Start doing those type of assessments of your life. And again, do this individually, whereas no one has to know. And if you want to share it with your partner, go ahead, share it. But you as an individual have to be grounded, whereas you can stand on your own 2 feet, stand on your feet, breathe. You need to be able to breathe too and not necessarily give your breath away. Worrying about others. It's gonna be massive uncertainty. But you still need to move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this right now. And I definitely will come back and talk about this a little bit more because it's crucial, it's important, and it's going to matter.